3, 2, 1. Martin Murphy, you are the Managing Partner of SP&P. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Care Home Show.
Pleasure to be here. Yeah, it really is.
Good stuff. I always start at this particular point, so and this is a story that I absolutely love because it's a real big part of the reason why you and me work together in the first place. So please, can you explain to me, Martin, how did you get into the care sector?
Right, yeah, so it's an interesting story, Simon. As you know, it's not one that you would normally hear. So I'm a nurse by trade, and people will always say to you, well, I knew I always wanted to be a nurse from a very early age. That wasn't for me. I knew I wanted to work in care, but nursing wasn't something that I was ever drawn to. So I trained after I finished school, I went to university and trained to be a social worker. And I found out very quickly, actually, social work wasn't for me. So I was out with a friend one night, and he was trained to be a nurse, and he was like, well, Martin, listen to your story. It really seems like, nursing is for you. And it did get me thinking, and I thought to myself, well, it's never something I thought I really wanted to do or felt it was my calling, like most people will say. But I gave it some real considerable thought and thought, yeah, well, actually, you know what? I think he might be right. So I've got to thank him for that. But so I went into my nurse training. And being very technically minded and very much sort of interested in the sort of, at the time, the sharp end of nursing, I had a placement in intensive care and really enjoyed that and sort of really found my calling in that at the time. And as a result, I was very fortunate to be one of the very first people in Colchester General Hospital to be employed as an ITU nurse from newly qualified, which is almost unheard of. Not so much now because of the nursing shortages, but very much at the time.
Quite an achievement.
It really was, and lots of support and a great team there. So I worked there for a number of years and made it to a high level there. And realised that I sort of missed the social side of nursing. So you see a very small window within intensive care. So when somebody's very, very poorly, you get to see them, and their families in their darkest hour or time of greatest need. And then as they start to feel anyway better at all, they move out of intensive care. And so I realised, having more contact around the hospital, that this is a side I missed, or at least didn't realise was out there for me. So I was fortunate enough to get a job as a district nurse, so running a team. It was a very busy team. We had any time on our books anything up to like 240, 250 patients, which included residents of residential care homes. Quite a large number of residential care homes. So I used to go into those quite a lot, supporting the team. If there was any very complex cases in there, I used to go in there. And I used to say to myself, some of them were really good, so they were really good sort of beacons for healthcare, and some of them were not so good. They had lots of challenges, and I used to think to myself, well, how hard can this be? Surely to God they can give better care than this. Surely to God residents can live more independent or empowered lives than what I used to see. And so I thought to myself, I think I might fancy my chances of going in and managing a care home. So bear in mind, for anybody the transition between working in the NHS, where there's lots of security in the sense of professionals to get ideas from, doctors if you come across any problems, social workers, all on tap. Everybody's there to going into to managing a care home, where it can be a very lonely place to work at times. Was quite a big transition, but I thought, well, that's not a big enough challenge. Why not commission the care home as well? So I was lucky enough to find a provider who was a very young provider, so they had a huge acceleration for growth they wanted, and so I came on board very early stages. So it was their second care home, and they had just about to open it. There was still some building work to be done, so I was very fortunate to get in at that point where I had to sort of recruit all the team members, had to help with some of the final planning of the building, and so I found out God, this is hard. I mean, this is not an easy job. So I'm thinking, like, I've held management positions in the NHS, sort of knew my trade, very well, and then go into managing care homes, which was like
Completely different world.
Absolutely polars apart, really. It's the same that you see. I digress a bit, but it's the same you see that nurses that work in NHS and then come into they say, well, I don't really want to work in the care industry because it's not exciting, it's boring. Actually, any nurse that works in the care industry, within residential care service or nursing care services, they need a wealth of knowledge to be able to do their job. They need to know everything inside out, safeguarding when somebody's poorly. They don't have anybody to call on like you do in the NHS. You don't have that luxury. So
completely different dynamic.
Absolutely, completely different. So so it was a real eye opener. Lots and lots of hours. It was a private company as well, so lots of marketing to do, and lucky enough, had the right team. I feel I had the right leadership skills to be able to take that team on, and we took that home from, it started off with a 36-bedded home. We took it from 0 to 36 beds in less than 18 months of completely private clients.
So it's 100% complete, full, all private.
Yeah. To the point that we ended up extend the building up to 55, I think, beds that we had built on after that, and went to fill them again. So we had a really good model.
And you successfully filled all of those again?
Absolutely. So we had zero agency. So we had a really good recruitment process that I built for that home. We had really good retention with the staff as well. And, the level of investment that we gave to the team members, and that you should give to team members should never be underestimated. We had very, very happy staff that were able to deliver some excellent care there. We took the care home on actually back in the time when it was star rating, up to 3 stars.
Okay,
so,
sure.
So that's the equivalent to outstanding now.
Is the Sea Sky excellent? That wasn't it, the 3 stars?
Yeah, absolutely. It's equivalent to outstanding now. It would be. So there's various different ratings throughout the time, but at the time that was a star rating.
Sure.
So we went on to sort of replicate that model. 5 more homes within the portfolio, and one of the homes was very local to the competitor that I ended up actually working for. So we had great success rate. All the homes were full, were private, and as a result, there was a care home not too far away from one that we opened, run by Four Seasons Healthcare, and they headhunted me personally to come aboard and turn that care home around. That care service wasn't in the best of places, so it just come out of an embargo. Its occupancy was just a little bit greater than 50%, maybe touching 60%. Retention of staff was very, very poor. Agency was very high, and the reputation in the area was very, very poor. So it was really struggling on a lot of levels. So again, one that loves a challenge. I thought,
straight back in there at the
straight
deep end.
back in there, yeah, absolutely. So took that challenge on. And of course worked very hard to sort out all the safeguardings that were in there. Obviously to get the team recruited, to get the culture right within the service. Worked extremely hard on that, but the biggest challenge was actually, as you turn a service around, what happens within those walls is very positive. What happens within that sector is very positive. So when you've got like CQC or social workers are very positive about the care service, but unfortunately people outside of that sector don't see that.
Yeah.
So in the community, a very poor reputation remains so for a long time. So a huge aspect of dealing with that side of things was me getting out there and marketing the home and selling how good the home is now, the improvements.
Rebuilding the reputation within the community from what was a
yes,
pretty bad reputation, all things being told, because
absolutely.
for all the obvious reasons.
Yes, it really was. It really was. We hear horror stories, care homes horror stories. It really was one of those. And so lots of getting out there, lots of marketing, lots of actually just selling who I was as well, because it's important that people knew that there was somebody who was focused, committed, in
trustworthy, somebody that was going to go through that process and make sure that all the challenges, that's the past, this is today, and this is what the future is going to look like.
And moreover, that we're going to make sure that these sort of things don't happen again, So that was very successful. I got the home full. and completely reduced agency.
That was in quite a short space of time as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I started there, if memory serves me correctly, September of 2011, and we had it back up full by 2012, sort of summer 2012. So yeah, it was no mean feat. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but it was very worthwhile, very very rewarding, and it turned out, to be fair, we were the provider of choice at one stage there,
Sure.
with the social workers, with the CHC. They were really interested in sort of coming to us for good quality care.
Because you put so much effort into
And the team,
turning everything around.
absolutely. Myself and the team put so much into it, and even today it still remains. I like to keep a close eye on service I've worked in the past. And why wouldn't you?
Part of the Murphy legacy, that is.
Yeah. It's a vested interest still, isn't it? You want to make sure that places that you help that remain so, and today it's still a very good home. I'm delighted to say. So because of that, I suppose because of my reputation of being able to turn the service around, Four Seasons then asked me to go and troubleshoot some of their homes. So a peripatetic manager, if you will. So some very challenging homes I had to take under my belt and help turn them around. Of course, with the help of some great team members as well, and some of the great resources that Four Seasons had. And so we worked very hard up until 2013. To turn those homes around, various different homes, helping it in various different areas, and I was fortunate enough to get the role of regional ops manager for Four Seasons, so for the southeast, and that was really exciting because it was a whole transition from either management of a single team and troubleshooting of homes to managing a team of 14 homes, each of those homes having maybe 60-70 staff plus in those, and it's sort of transferring your skills from what you do in one area to trying to transfer it into 14 different areas.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. It's a different operating model as well, isn't it? Being a home manager, and then it's much the same skills, but the way that it's then ultimately how you then lead that team it's a very, very different way for you personally, just as much as the rest of the team themselves.
Yeah, for sure, it really is. So so we as a team for the southeast, we absolutely smashed it at the time. I must say that the team worked very hard, with the direction that I gave and the support that they gave me, and we managed to hold some of the highest occupancy in the whole company. Most definitely the lowest agency at one point, and our quality compliance was really, really good. And that's because my leadership style is very much getting people to understand their worth and what they have to bring to the table, and being very clear with what the expectations are of the company, what my expectations are, and actually facilitating people to be able to achieve those expectations. And I think that's the important thing, and that's what I feel to this day continues to breed the success that we have at SP&P as well, because we do that with all our team.
100%.
So again, transition again from being ops manager to managing director.
Just a quick one, but didn't you? Have I got it right that you also won some awards as an ops regional ops manager person as well? So you were well recognised, obviously, in what you were doing, the success and things that you had. So I guess that was probably part of the reason why you were the obvious choice to then take the MD position, because obviously you smashed it out of the park
plus the fact that I sponsored the whole event. No, I didn't. But in all seriousness, you're right. It was great to get that recognition for all the hard work and that we put in, the team put in. It's a recognition for the whole team as well. That we were able to achieve that. But,
absolutely.
Yes. So thank you for highlighting that very important part indeed.
Absolutely.
But of course, I went on to do the managing director's role for southeast of England. So that went again from 14 homes to 40 homes. Went to overseeing the whole team. of people, up to 3,000 people. Obviously, not directly line managing those individuals,
but responsible for.
but responsible for
ultimately,
those. Yes, for
sit within your remit if anything goes wrong with that portfolio and within that group of people. That's your head on the line as well.
Absolutely. But it's funny because it's something that I've always been interested in. So business has been something I've always been interested in, and to be able to combine, the care, which I knew I wanted to do, but took a while to find out what aspect of that I wanted to do, and to run those businesses as well and help run those businesses was a beautiful marry for me. It really was. We're very successful there. At that time, Four Seasons were going through. So a lot of changes within the organisation and a lot of challenges, and that was a really good learning curve for me. It gave me a lot to think about. I learned an awful lot in that role as well, as managing director, and as a result, and with the drive that I had and the way Four Seasons operated, we managed to get my tenure, managed to be able to get occupancy up into the 90s. They were in sort of mid to sort of high 80s. In the short tenure I was there as managing director, managed to get it up into 92, 93%, if memory serves me correctly. We got agency down by a quarter with the team. We're really doing some great things, and but of course at the same time, Simon, I'd learned of a company called the Care Home Coach, which is now SP&P, and I'm really intrigued by what we do within SP&P, and been talking to you for some time, and it was brilliant to be able to still have that operations of a business and running a business, but actually what I do today is working very closely with with clients on the ground level. Is almost like a utopia for me to be able to hold that space of running an organisation, but also working very closely with clients who need our support. That's so to me that's what I really enjoy doing. So it's taken me right up to this point here now.
And that's been just over 18 months ago now, isn't it? Which seems to have gone like that. Albeit,
It has,
we've covered so much ground.
We have,
but
yeah.
I can still remember having the original conversations with you when we were kind of working out, do we work together?
Yeah.
How's it all going to work? All that type of stuff. And I think the three things. I mean, we talk about the kind of the principles of building and growing a sustainable care home business around culture, care quality, and business performance. And that's just something that throughout your career you've embodied those three things. And
Absolutely.
albeit, I guess you might have implicitly or explicitly thought about it as we've kind of developed the company and things like that. I think those were on top of being a fantastic guy and being somebody that I genuinely enjoy, and we've ended up building a friendship off the back of it. It's great that we have those shared values and that we're in it for the same reason. So it's been a pleasure, and we've got all sorts of exciting stuff coming up in the future.
We definitely do.
We?
Yeah,
So,
keep posted for that. Yeah, absolutely, we do.
So why is what you do so important to you personally?
Well, I think on two levels really for me. So I mean, if we say on a selfish level, first and foremost, it's for me it's who I am. It makes up part of me. I've got two sides. So I've got my family, which is ultimately the most important people in my life, and that's hugely important. But what I do on a day-to-day basis, this is an opportunity for me. The industry that I work in is an opportunity for me to express myself in what I love to do. So I think that's that is, if you want to call it, a selfish aspect of why I do it. It gives me purpose in life, and we all need that. It gives me meaning, and it excites me to work in an organisation that is growing and changing. So that is on a very personal level. But the other side, which I sort of mentioned a couple of minutes ago, is that it's just brilliant to be able to work with people who have the challenges, to be able to work out that puzzle with them and help them achieve their goals and aspirations for their business, because everybody goes into this organisation or any role or any job or buys a business with a clear vision of what they want to achieve. and but unfortunately, not everybody can put that into realization.
Yeah, it's connecting the dots, isn't it?
Exactly. So from that level, it's brilliant to be able to work with people who have those challenges, and actually just to, most of the time, as you know, what we do is we get to understand the individuals within the organisation, and then we, we're sometimes if they're hit with a lot of challenges, we get them to realise actually they do know what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. They do know what they need to do, but it's up to us just to tease that out.
Yeah.
So it's not the fact of the matter that we go in absolutely know everything and take over, the running of the business. What we do is actually help people realise that they have got the skills, and we just help hone them and focus those and refine those to get them through.
It's very much a collaborative model, isn't it? It's very much in the spirit of partnership. I know the services that we deliver. Yeah, we've got some consultancy services where it's us just kind of we'll own a particular project. But you're absolutely right. When people turn around to us and they kind of say, okay, so I've got this vision for my business, I've got these aspirations and things. There's a journey there, and that can look like years, quite literally years. We've been working with some of our clients, and it's undergoing that process of that journey with them and the team, and the evolution that they need to go through personally as well as individuals, just as much as kind of as an organisation and things like that. It's a fascinating process as well,
and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. The journey is years, and sometimes it's like when you don't, for whatever reason, you don't break it down into smaller bite-sized chunks. That's when people start to run into the challenges and the difficulties that we see on a day-to-day basis.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's we always take the long-term view. It's always about the long-term sustainability of the business and ensuring the residents enjoy the best possible life experience. That's it. It's how we engineer that with the client. Obviously, that's somewhat variable because obviously every year every client's going to be different. But it's helping people have that long-term view whilst they've also got shared load of stuff going on, because care homes, the people that run care homes are time-starved largely because there's so much stuff.
The day-to-day stuff does get in the way
to do. So
what you want to do sometimes.
It's helping people get their head above the parapet and think, right, okay, strategically, where do we need to be?
How do I break this down? How do I make sure that the small decisions I make feed into the long-term plan that I have for the company? And that's the key, and that's the fun part, saying, okay, well, I want to have, by the third quarter of 2020, I want to be agency free, and then they find, quarter one, quarter two starts to feed by, and they haven't really. They're still trying to, or still have the vision of getting to the point where they're agency free, but they haven't sort of set up short or short-term goals or projects to be able to do that. So if it's a recruitment process or retention process, whatever it is, sort of how that feeds into being agency free, and I think that's the things that we help them unpick.
Yeah, sort of it's making sure that people can make it's that we always talk about the virtuous cycle of improvement, don't we? Yeah. It's just making sure that people are there in that virtuous cycle of improvement, so that whatever they're doing, whatever they're trying to implement, whatever they're trying to achieve, it's just making sure that progress continues to be made, and that's. It's no mean feat. That means we need to do our job properly. Also means that the client needs to be on board, and they need to be focused on ultimately delivering the result as well. Because one of the things we've learned is we're not there to run people's businesses for them, are we? It's a case of, again, it's working in collaboration with them to help them achieve the result that they're looking for. So,
I agree.
So, obviously, I know this. Us as the two leaders within the business. This is how we spend an awful lot of time when we talk about it, an awful lot. But for the audience, so just explain. Okay, so just summarise quickly. So what does SP&P do?
Okay, so we're a professional services company for leaders in the elderly care sector. We help our clients by building high performance teams. We help deliver outstanding quality, and we help grow successful businesses. And we have got a full range of services and products within that that help with that. But in a nutshell, that's what we do, really, Simon.
It's our purpose, isn't it, to help our clients to build and grow sustainable care home businesses. And again, those are the three most important things. It comes back to culture, care, quality, and business performance. Because if you're pushing forward and you've got that virtuous cycle of improvement across those three planes, you're going to go in the right direction. Good things are going to happen for the business. So from a services perspective, obviously that's what that's what we're always striving for. So so again, this is we have the pleasure of getting to work together on a day-to-day basis. So I know all of this stuff. But again, for the benefit of the audience, okay. So managing partner for SP&P. What does that look like?
Okay, so obviously we've got the day-to-day operations of the business. That includes the growth of our own business. Making sure that our brand is right and that we stay on point of that. So also the management of team as well, and everything that comes with that. So that's probably not a lot of news to people. That's normally what you do as a managing partner. But the exciting part of what I do is, to help our clients achieve their visions and goals and aspirations. And that's what I mentioned earlier on. That's the exciting part of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So that takes a big part of my day-to-day as well. Not only running the business, but actually getting out there with our clients. Working very closely with them. Most definitely, as you know, very heavily involved in the onboarding process to make sure that we set ourselves on the right track so we can work collaboratively together to get the best results. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's been, I don't think we specifically had this conversation when we were getting to know each other and before we worked together, but I know it's something we've talked about quite a lot since then. You said that the part of the reason why it was so exciting to come and join was because you get the best of both worlds. So you're working with operators, and that could be with the CEO of a company one day or the care home manager of a home or anything in between kind of on any other day of the week. But then you've also got that operational MD, managing partner style position as well, and balancing out those two worlds. I didn't realise quite how important that was for you at the time, even. But obviously, I've seen you grow and flourish in what you've done. So yeah, it's a pleasure to get you to see you do that role so well, and it was quite a big transition as well, because you come from the operational world into a services capacity. That's obviously going to take time to work out. But I remember speaking to our friend and esteemed colleague Sue Goldsmith, and Rob Hammond, again, friend and esteemed colleague, and we were kind of saying, right, okay, so eventually we're going to get to a point where we're going to need a managing director. Who do we hire? And both of them kind of just said, oh, you just need to hire Martin. So it was a relatively easy recruitment position. Obviously, we went and looked at what the rest of the market was looking at from the perspective of managing directors that were interested in that kind of transitional period. But both of them were just like, you just need to hire Martin. So it was it was a very easy recruitment process, but one that I'm delighted with, and it's great to get to see you show up on a day-to-day and enjoy what you do so much. So
well, thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. The opportunity has been well received, and you never work a day in your life when you love what you do.
It's very true.
And absolutely.
So, what do you see as being the vision for SP&P?
Well, Simon, we envisage a world where sustainable care home businesses offer the best life experiences for people who live in, work for, and own a care home, whether that be a single operator or a group.
It's a solid vision. And okay, so as a company, so what is SP&P doing at the moment to make that vision a reality?
Okay, I think the most important part for us has been the rebrand that we've had. That has been really good from the care home coach to SP&P. That helps us on a day-to-day basis really keep a strong focus on what we do, because our business is very market-led. So what we did as a care home coach is very different to what we do now in SP&P. So our offerings have changed because basically people have wanted certain services that we could offer, and we've had to evolve, because if we don't evolve, unfortunately, we're going to be a business that isn't able to offer for the changing needs of the community out there within the care sector.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting, isn't it? Because obviously we started out with our executive coaching business. That's effectively what we were at. That was what we were doing at the time, and I think it was almost as soon as you came on board, we were presented with more and more opportunities. And it was fascinating to see that most of our clients were looking to try and do one thing or another. So they were all either looking to buy more care home businesses, or they were looking to sell their current care home business. And which either end of the spectrum they were basically looking at. Ultimately, what that looks like is building and growing a sustainable care home business. Because if you're looking to buy more, then you need to make sure that, again, across those three planes, culture, care, quality, and business performance, that everything's going in the right direction. And that if you just look at it purely from a kind of a mergers and acquisitions perspective, making sure that the profitability and the valuation of the business was everything that it could be. And lo and behold, if you're looking to sell your business, that's also a very, very important metric to be looking at. So it's been fascinating how effectively us as the leaders of the business, we've had an opportunity to be able to go and unpick what does that look like operationally, because that's the sphere in which we that we work. But operationally, how can we impact the profitability and the valuation of our client's business, and to be able to go and do that on a sustainable business. So what I find fascinating is the fact that we're if you look at it from a macroeconomical perspective, the world's about to undergo the largest transformation of wealth that the world's ever seen. Effectively, the baby boomers are going to start divesting their finances and their assets to Generation X and the millennial generation. So that's macro level. What does that mean within the sector? There's a huge amount of effectively baby boomers that are going to be looking to divest their assets. There's this whole swath of, let's call them the next generation operators, who are looking to enter into the sector, and we have the pleasure of working with lots of exciting clients at kind of both ends of that spectrum. But what does that look like? So lots of homes will end up getting shut down because they're just not going to be sustainable. What does that then mean from a beds perspective? Are we going to have enough beds? Are we going to have enough good quality operators? So we spend an awful lot of time obviously talking about the kind of intersection between those two worlds. Absolutely. And for us to have re-engineered and repositioned the company in a way where ultimately we can deliver a huge amount of value to our clients on both ends of that spectrum is it's an awful lot of fun, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think that's a real fear. What you mentioned there about the baby boomers and people want to invest their interests, because it's only last week I was speaking with a local authority, and so they were really interested in what we did. So I met them I was in a care home, and they were in there, and we started to chat, and we were saying, well, why are you here? I explained what we did and what we do, and they were very interested in all that. And they were just saying it's great to have an organisation like yourself that is really interested in this, because there's lots of companies out there that will, and absolutely we can do that, but there's lots of companies out there that will come and do your compliance reports, very sort of consultant type things. But what they were really interested in is how we help businesses grow, and how very, very much the sustainability part of it, because they're extremely worried at the moment. And this is not a small local authority, this is a large local authority. And they're extremely worried at the moment because they're finding exactly that people are selling up or shutting down, finding it hard to continue to operate, not financially viable, so they're not reinvesting into their services. So as a result, people aren't getting, as we said, the best possible life experiences. And so they were saying, well, how many of you guys are out there? And I said, well, we're a growing company, and as you know, our biggest challenge is making sure that the people that work with us and continue to work with us share the same vision and values that we have, because that's very important. Because as long as we make sure that everybody comes on board and that works with SP&P and the existing team have the same vision and values as we have, and hold them so dear and so strong to them, as we grow, we will be able to deliver exactly the same level of care and support that we're giving to our clients as we do today. And that's important, very important for us anyway, as you know. So so it's a real fear out there that we are most definitely coming into a crisis period. But on the flip side of that, we know we've got plenty of people who want to buy care homes, and we're helping with that. And we're helping to build those care homes and making sure they are sustainable. So so hopefully we will help with that transition across.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because relatively we'd be classed as kind of a boutique, again, professional services company or management consultancy style organisation. If what we can do is just turn the dial up just a little bit, then that would have been a job well done. Now, obviously, like, we've got a big, bold vision. Obviously, we're going to do everything that we can to achieve that. But it's fascinating that we recognise the challenges that we see in the homes that come to us and say, right, okay, this isn't acceptable for us. We want to be able to do better, and we're striving for kind of our aspirations and things like that. But that's on an individual basis. There's a whole sector out there, and then that sector looks after a huge amount of people, obviously, and they're vulnerable people. So we need to get what we do right so that we can support clients so that they can get their bit right so that ultimately people get looked after. Well, I mean, that's the most important thing.
I mean, that's you know, when you founded the company, that was one of your remits, just to make sure that people got the best possible care that they could. That you know, as we say, people got the best possible life experiences, and that's fundamentally, you know, really high on our agenda. Absolutely, we want to make sure that people have sustainable businesses, that they make a good lifestyle out of their business. But fundamentally, you know, we sit very high that the clients who are vulnerable, the people that our operators serve, that they get the best care that they possibly get, and I think that is key to us. And really, when you've got very well-meaning providers, they're very much the same. Absolutely, they want to make sure that they you know, service the investors, get the best possible returns, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, the well-meaning clients that we work with, which we're very fortunate to do, you know, the care quality is very high up there.
What's been a really interesting journey for both of us as well, which I think is really important to highlight. The clients that we tend to work with, they start at being a 5 out of 10, and they're aiming to be an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 anyway, kind of in that range that's aspirational and looking for. I think there's probably quite a common misconception that we help businesses that are failing, and that's not really our game. It's those operators that are actually, they've already got a really, really solid business, but that's not good enough for them. It's when good's not good enough, and they're looking for growth. They're looking to build a high performance culture. They genuinely want to deliver outstanding.
They want to do the best.
We probably turn away more business than what gets presented to us, because we need to make sure that we're only going to be working with the people that genuinely do want that. Because it's very easy, isn't it, for people to turn around and say, I'd like all of these things, but is everyone willing to put in the hard effort to go make that happen? Are they going to be as invested in us as we're going to be with them? Not everyone is, unfortunately. No. It'd be nice to think that everyone was.
I think the end result, everybody signs up to the end result, which and you're right. So if we were to ask, you know, if we sit around the table with 10 providers, every single one of them would want the end result, people to be cared for. You know, getting outstanding care. They would want, you know, all singing, all dancing business. They would want really excellent retention and very happy team members. But like you said, not everybody out of that table of 10, you know, there's a smaller percentage, you know, that really want to put in the work and the effort and really embrace that transformation, that change, to be able to get there, because it's not easy. It's not easy when you've been doing what you've been doing for so long, you know, and then all of a sudden try to change that and try it's a big old ship to turn around, and so it really does take that commitment, and that's why it's not because we want to. You know, you say that we want to work with people that are 5, 6 out of 10, they're already there. It's not because we want to make life easy for ourselves. That's not what we operate. That's not what gets us up in the morning. We want the challenges. We want to come across those things. We want to have those conversations with people. We want to be challenged ourselves, don't we? Like we do as an organisation. 100%. We challenge each other on a daily basis, and that's good because it's healthy, because it helps you look at different perspectives. It helps you take on board different suggestions, and it helps you learn and grow. But so it's not because we want the easy option or the path of least resistance to make ourselves look good. It's because it's important for people to get what we do, that they understand, actually, you know, this is going to take a team transformation. It's not going to take somebody coming in and doing it for us, because the unfortunate thing is that absolutely, I'm very confident that if a provider was said to me, can you work with me 5 days a week and get my occupancy from 75 to 100%, absolutely, I'm very confident I could do that. you know, with all the challenges out there. However, is that very good when I suddenly leave that? If I do it all myself and I just leave, and then 6 months down the line, they don't have the tools to do it, to be able to sustain that or to get up there.
It's all about building the team.
It's all about building the team.
It's all about building the. I don't think you and I have talked about it particularly recently, but one of the maxims that we talked about really early was the fact that with coaching comes sustainability.
Yes.
Because if you're working with the team and giving the people the right tools in the first place, so the right systems, policies, procedures, whatever that might be, and then working with those people to help hold them to account, provide them with coaching, provide them with coaching, steer them in the right direction, be the cheerleader when they need to be. Ultimately, it's going to be the team that's going to be there, because we might not be there forever. I mean, most of our clients end up signing us up for quite long-term contracts, so we do. But it's almost most of the time we're trying to coach ourselves out of a position.
I know.
Because if they get to a point where they're doing everything anyway, then we become far more light touch, and they're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. I mean, it's bizarre. That's what we want to achieve. We want to actually talk ourselves out of the work at the end of it. But you know, but the thing is that the priority of today. So you know, quite often somebody might you know, engage with us for services to get their occupancy up. Absolutely, we help them with that, and we help them, you know, build the resources to be able to do that, build, you know, the teams to be able to achieve that. But then there's always something else, and that's the beauty of what we do, because you know, quite often we're working, and you know, a client not so long ago had agency issues, and you know, that was going to be a year-long plan. We set them on the right road. You know, within 6-7 months, they were doing quite a bit themselves, and they're still on that journey, but we've got a far lighter touch with that at the moment, and our direction has moved somewhere else with that company. You know, so we're working on different things. So we're helping them with some compliance bits at the moment. So I think you're right. It's you know, people always have lots of different challenges, and I feel very comfortable at getting a team to a space where they're able to do it themselves, because I know that, you know, when people see the value in what we do in one area, they understand the value we can bring to it.
Yeah, exactly. They want to invest in it elsewhere, because they recognise the ebbs and flows of business. One thing that might be a challenge and a priority day, once you've addressed that on some level, you're going to start thinking to yourself, right, okay, so what's next on the priority list? And it always happens that day, doesn't it?
You know, I always say everything's a priority. Some for now, some for 6 months' time. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's a priority, but where it sits on that list is,
Yeah, no, fully agree. One of the things that you touched upon earlier, which I think is really important, we were kind of talking about the team and kind of how we show up, and this is something that you've been great in embedding within the organisation. But so tell us about the values of SP&P.
Okay, so we keep our values very, very simple. So we're results driven. So it's very important that when our clients, you know, buy our service, they're not just buying us, they're not just buying the service, they're buying the result. They want to achieve the result. So for us, that's very important, not only in our own organisation, but what we do when we go out to work on a day-to-day basis, that we, you know, deliver on what we say we're going to do. That's one of them. So our next one is disruptive. So I think we've all heard the saying, and apologies in advance if I get the wording wrong, but you know, to go out and do the same thing day in, day out and expect the different results is a sign of lunacy. Yeah, and so when we say disruptive, I think people, when they hear that for the first time, they think, well, what does that mean? What are you going to come in and disrupt? But actually, no, what we're doing is we know that things have to change, a transformation has to happen, and that comes with, you know, a challenge, because people continue to do what they know. We're trying to direct them on a different path, trying to get them to understand that you know, need to look at things differently or approach things differently, and that can be very disruptive to a team.
It's disruption, but it's not disruption for disruption's sake.
No, of course not.
It's challenging the status quo to keep, again, coming back to that virtuous cycle of improvement. to continue to improve, you need to change. You need to keep keep
Absolutely.
evolving. So it's the embodiment of that, isn't it? It's making sure that we're doing that, and then we're supporting our
And
clients.
we've
to be
gone
able
through
to
that
do
with a rebrand as well, haven't we?
Massively.
So we understand that we have to evolve and we have to change because that's what the market dictates. So we just didn't wake up in the morning and think, oh, we'll change, and that changes. And we had to go through that transformation of change. We had to look at how that looks, how that affects the team. Who do we need to, what skills do we need to draw on? So so that's our second value, and obviously compassionate. And I mean, it goes without saying we're in the caring industry, and we need to be understanding when we go into people's homes. First of all, that it is somebody's home. It's the residents that we serve. It's their homes, but also the people who work within there. They come with a set of skills. They come with their ideas, and we need to. Yes, the change needs to happen, but we need to be understanding and compassionate about how that happens. So, we, as you know, Simon, every time we talk, we always reflect on what have we done to really embody those values, and we always give sort of live examples what we done that week to be able to say that we were results driven. What did we do that week? Say that we were disruptive, and again not for disruptive sake, but to make a positive change. And how do we do those two things in a compassionate way? To make sure that actually, everybody feels comfortable with that journey, because that's hugely important for us. That, if people feel comfortable with what we do and our presence, we're more likely to get, the first two nailed, really. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so, why do you think those values are so important to us as a business at SP&P?
Well, for me and the rest of the team, they're the things that really drive us. They're the things that it's our operating system. Mm-hmm. It's our guiding light. It's our compass. So when we turn up on a day-to-day basis, we need to make sure that that we have that vision and that value is really strong in our minds, because it shapes what we do. The decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, we shouldn't be making any decisions for either our own business or anybody else's business unless we check in with those on a daily basis to make sure that we're living and breathing those. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, isn't it? And when we underwent the rebrand process, we spent a lot of time thinking about the context of our business and thinking about what our biggest assets are. And I'd say quite comfortably that our two biggest assets are the accumulative experience of the team, because there's a lot of it, and with great success, I hasten to add as well, but then also our culture as well. I think that's something that obviously we've invested a huge amount of time into making sure that we've got our, I call it, hammering cultural assets into stone, or carving them into stone rather, and I think that's enabled us ultimately to be nimble, to be agile, and to deliver results. I think it's helped for us to be able to turn up on a day-to-day basis, using those three values, being results driven, being disruptive, and being compassionate. I think that helps us. Again, it's an operating system for our people, isn't it? So.
It is, and like you say, it's the times that we come up against challenges, and either personal or in our business days. What do? You revisit what's important to you. And as a company, the times that we come up against challenges, the frustrations that we can sometimes have, when things aren't going exactly to plan. It's important to have these because you recheck yourself. It's almost like they say, check yourself at the door. You just, okay, I'm coming in, and these are the things that has got us to this point. These are we've made our vision and values, yes, as an organisation. So we haven't picked them out of a book or they haven't been given to us. we've made them because we strongly feel it as a team. But it's important that we remind ourselves of that on a day-to-day basis.
What's really interesting is the fact that obviously we've invested really heavily in this. We've been the recipients and beneficiaries of coaching to focus on building cultural assets and the importance behind it. Part of our evolution has then been now helping our clients to invest more heavily into their culture as well. And I think that's coming back to what have we been doing as an organisation to as part of our rebrand and to achieve our vision and values. It's actually been helping people build out their own vision and values, and then how do you help them to how do you help our clients to be able to use their vision and values, their cultural assets as a decision making tool on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, of course.
And you can apply that to everything.
Absolutely,
And it should absolutely everything. It should. We got to a point now where, again, you said earlier, we get presented with a challenging set of circumstances, and we get a bit of a team huddle going on and kind of saying, right, okay, so we'll talk through, okay, here are the values, here's the meaning to the values, here's the behaviours to the values, how does that then apply to this set of circumstances? And usually, by the time you've undergone that, even if it looks like a fairly sticky set of circumstances that could otherwise be quite hard, we've got a pretty clear idea on what we need to be able to go and do. So it's been so powerful for us, but then also being able to impart and empower that with our clients as well. Because let's be honest, startup professional services company, not so easy. You wouldn't choose this as the easy route. Equally, you wouldn't choose running a care home business as an easy route. So being able to assertively make the right decisions on the basis of having that framework in place, I know it's been super powerful for us, but also again for clients, it's an imperative, isn't it? So
it is. Absolutely. For me, there's it's one of the starting points when I work with a client that we always visit. So quite often people will be a couple of weeks in and we're like, we still haven't even talked about agency yet, And agency was the thing that we wanted, but we haven't even talked about it because we spend so much time talking about, what are your values, what's your culture, how is that transferred out there? To me, it's one of the most important things. Like you say, you can adapt and intertwine it into everything you do, but actually you should, more so than can. You should put it in there because, when you talk about recruitment based, when recruit people, how many organisations really, they're starting to do it now but some of the organisations that we work with or start out with, they don't have very much, value or culture based recruitment. So the people that you might be employing somebody who can do the job on paper,
but are they the right people?
So
and then have you got a system in place to be able to effectively lead those people once they're into business? Again, it comes back to that people operating system, doesn't it?
Yeah, and when people understand, it sets out your stall, it sets out your expectations for your organisation. This is what these, like you mentioned earlier on, with the values, comes the meaning, comes the behaviours that sit behind those. This is what we expect. So therefore, if the value is, say for instance, caring, your interpretation of caring and my interpretation of caring might be two very different things, and that's where the wheels start to come off, because that's when you start to get confrontation. Because my interpretation of caring might be, in the care sector, as a care worker, for instance, might be, well, I've got the person up and dressed, I've gave them a meal. I've helped them and I've got back into bed. So I have been caring today. But your interpretation of caring, which would be the right one, is like, well, actually, did you help empower that person? Did you help with their independence? Did you assist them in a way that was conducive to what they want, not just getting up and dressed, but did you look at all the aspects of what they like? What's personable to them when it comes to all those activities? And the polars apart, aren't they? Really, when you think about it, it's a difference
still
between somebody being, still the same word. So somebody still got up and washed and dressed, but actually, in your world of caring, somebody's had the best possible life experience. What we mentioned, and
it's really important, isn't it? So, what we're effectively talking about there is company culture.
Yes.
And again, that's something that we're very big on. That's something that we work very hard with our clients on. But for you personally, Martin, I mean, how important is culture?
I think you probably tell from what I'm saying, it's imperative. You know, it's an absolute must. It really is. I think a company that doesn't roll out their culture, doesn't make an embodiment of everything to do, is a company that is going to falter at some stage. I couldn't feel any stronger about this, really. You can have lots of different systems, policies, processes in place to follow when you come across situations, but if you don't have the right cultures within the home, and you don't understand what they are, you don't work to fix those, I think everything else falls a second.
You're just more exposed as a business without having that clear operating framework.
Yeah.
Any challenge, and every single care home or every single business experiences challenges, but I've always been of the opinion that you're far more likely to experience that far more acutely.
Yeah.
If the team isn't being effectively well led, let's put it in the context of the CQC, if the team isn't being effectively well led, and that boils down to how is the culture performing within, or how your team performing within your business? There's a maxim, and it gets bandied around all over social media. From a chap called Peter Drucker, who's like a business magnate, and he says that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
And it's one that I love. That it is something that kind of puts a smile on my face. But I remember it making me really think about this, and I've probably talked about this on the show before, but it really, really made me think about, okay, so what does that actually mean? And what it means to me personally is that culture shouldn't be part of your strategy.
Yeah.
That culture should set the context for your strategy.
Yeah,
It should be the overarching part of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at the flip side of that, you've got, I mean, we've had it before, haven't we, where we've not decided to work with the client, where we've said, okay, so tell us about your vision and values for your business. Nice big open question to go and find out, go and sense check what this client's all about. So, it's on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website.
So, sorry, no, just tell me a little bit more about. So, how's that embodied?
Yeah.
No, it's on the website.
Yeah,
and you just think to yourself, oh right, okay.
Yeah.
That's when we make a beeline for the door.
Absolutely. And you're right, because they just got at that point. There's just such a lack of understanding of how important it is that they're never going to get the bigger picture of what needs to be achieved.
And they're always going to be the people that experience the challenges in the most acute.
Yeah, absolutely, and ultimately that leads to, the leaders of business always firefighting and never being able to grow, what their strategy is, never being able to execute it. They just feel like they're constantly swimming against the tide, and so caught up in the day-to-day challenges and the day-to-day things of the business that their strategy, is so far away from them that it's lost. And
their strategy is relevant to their pain points.
Yeah.
And again, that's working in their business rather than working on their business.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, their culture is by default rather than by design.
That's right.
And I mean, we've seen it more times than we care to remember.
Plenty of people get there, and they don't know how they got there. And the problem is they can't replicate it.
Yeah, even when they do good stuff.
Yeah.
Which, if you're entirely operating by the seat of your pants, then it's more by luck than luck by judgment. So, I mean, we've had a lot of success because you're a fantastic leader. I'll be very very direct about that, and you've clearly been a great leader within the roles that you've had in the past and things as well. So, Martin, what are your I guess your greatest leadership lessons?
I suppose really, for me, it's never underestimate the capability of your team. Because you need to allow your team to grow and to express themselves. And I think it's about and I always say this, it's about delegation, not abdication, and it's about obviously letting go of things to you employ. Okay, so we spend a lot of time recruiting people that we think are the right people for the business. And fundamentals, we recruit them because of their personality, but also their skills that they bring to the table. And then we stifle that. Or, you know, the risk is that you stifle that you are, you know, you micromanage those individuals. And then as a result, you know, you get, the only ideas you get executed are your ideas. And that's a very, you know, it can be a very dangerous thing, you know, and you know, because I know for a fact that, you know, in certain areas I don't have the best skills in the team, even though I might be the managing partner of SP&P, I'm not the fount of all knowledge. There's other team members that are far better at various different areas than I am, and vice versa. So it's about, you know, never underestimate what they bring to the table, never underestimate their capabilities or their ideas, to listen to the team and work very closely whilst keeping, you know, a hand, you know, on the guiding ropes, really, to make sure that we don't go too far off what our overall goal and vision is for the business. Yeah, so that's probably for me a very important, something I've always held very dear, and something up to this point has always helped me, you know, achieve great things within the industry I've worked.
Wise words, and they certainly seem to have served you well so far, Martin. So long may that continue.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and just one last question, just before we wrap things up. So, if you were to give one person looking to make a positive impact on the one person a piece of advice if they were looking to make a positive impact on the sector, what would that be?
Communication really is key, and when we all know how to communicate, but I'm talking about meaningful communication, really listening to what the team have to say, really, you know, setting your expectations out, you know, understanding what your team expect from you as well is very important, and to make sure that they're on that journey all the way. I think a lot of people out there think they communicate well, and they say, well, this is what I want to achieve, but the team are left to try to get there with no time frames. What's the guidance? You know, what are the points that we revisit this? How do we communicate when things are going well, when they're not going well? So I think, you know, there seems to be, for me, that seems to be one of the biggest problems that we come across as an industry, and we can always grow. All of us can always improve our communication. You know, I can, you know, every day there's areas that I think I can do it better, and I know that there are areas I can do it better. But I think we need to be clear what the focus is, and you know, and focus on what the goal is, because this is what we're trying to achieve. We're not just running a care service day to day. You know, as an operator, you're not just running it day to day to make sure everybody's had a decent day. You've got a plan, and it's, you know, it'll be a long-term plan. Whether it's to get the home to outstanding with the CQC, which you know, whether it's to make sure that the home is profitable, so it's, you know, so you can go in year on year and make sure everybody gets the great service that you offer for year one. It needs to be communicated, and not just once. It needs to be revisited. It needs to be, make sure that every conversation that you have, which is based around the business, sort of feeds into that. And yeah, so I think for me, communication is one of the big ones.
Again, wise words, things that have served you well, obviously, in your career and now in SP&P. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you as managing partner for SP&P, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. So
thank you very much, Simon.
Thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, thank you.